Hey everybody, Scout Crafty here again. It's Friday, TGIF. You made it through another week, and boy, this was an eventful week for me. I had a lot going on. There is a lot going on around the world, and it's a busy week. So we're going to keep this video somewhat short. A couple things to talk about. First thing I want to get out of the way is I wanted to address two things that we have to do with that great World War II wire cutter from Ben. Let's talk about that right now. Okay, you remember we did Ben's wire cutters last week, and these are just so beautiful right now. One thing when I was mentioning it, I said these were made during World War II entirely from 41 to 45, and what I meant by that, I said these were made during, I didn't mean that World War I was only from 41 to 45. Traditionally, we think of World War I starting in September of 39 and ending in September of 45. What I meant was these were made entirely during World War. I have not seen an example of these being made after 45 or before 41. So the entire lifespan of these, anytime you see one of these, it's going to be from that era. Like I said, they stopped because they made so many different styles. But what was really interesting to me is John McLaurin pointed out in the comments, which was genius. I didn't even think about it. He said maybe these don't come together because they don't make, you know how we were talking about when you cut with a Klein? I'll show you. Remember when I was saying when we cut with a regular side cutters, listen to the sound. You know, it makes that, and it shoots that piece across the room. But with this one here, remember I was saying that you know, and you know, John pointed out, he says maybe it's like that so that it's silent, because if you are sneaking up on an enemy line and you got to cut some wire, the last thing you want to hear is this ping coming from a, you know, a regular side cut, and that makes so much sense. I wonder if that's the true design, you know, if the engineers thought about that, you know, saying this don't make that snapping noise and they're more silent. So John, that was an excellent point. Thanks so much for bringing that up, and enjoyed reading that comment. Okay, next up, you know, just yesterday I went to the Long Island Tool Meet, you know, where we do our tool collecting, and boy, I'll tell you, normally August, because it's so hot, we don't have a big turnout, and especially with the COVID and everything, I was shocked. We had quite a turnout, and everybody was super enthusiastic to be there. I was really excited because my buddy, my mentor, Dan, who wasn't supposed to be there because he was doing some work in Connecticut, he did make it. So that kind of made the whole day. We all had a great time talking and learning from Dan. And then all the other guys showed up. It was just a fantastic meet. And let me show you, I shot a little bit of footage. Let's check that out. Now there's Mike, and here's one of his tables. He has an overflow table outside, but he always has, you'll always find something at Mike's table. Now, I found this totally interesting. It has a shaft that runs up that entire hollowed out piece, that I-beam piece, and it spins when you turn the handle. I have no idea what it's for. And yes, I did buy that shoebox. I can't pass them by. This one was full, and it cost $7, and it had 4 horsehair brushes. How great is that? This was Mike's overflow table outside, and there's always a good bargain here. I picked up that auto wrench on this dollar table. Now look at this new old stock Miller's Falls miter box with the saw. How nice is that, huh? And look, hey, there's Tom Gunn. Holy cow, Tom himself. Now, as always, the best part of this show is you could go up to any one of these gentlemen, start a conversation, and before long you'll be talking like you knew each other for 10 years. And check out Mike had brought some carvings he just finished. Look how beautiful. What a job he did on these beautiful egrets. They're just absolutely beautiful. The painting, everything, so he really sparked my interest in maybe getting back into carving. What a beautiful job. Okay, so I was really good. You know, I'm telling you, I'm getting much, much better as far as picking stuff up, you know. I know you guys, a lot of you guys, I feel bad now not taking that miter box from last week that a lot of you said they would have taken. And you're right, I should have took it and just brought it to the tool meet and let somebody there grab it. But if nobody would have grabbed it, I would have been forced to throw it out myself. And that would have been a real sin. I can't do that, but I could pass it by. But let me show you what I picked up. I was really good. I only picked up a few items. Let's check it out. Okay, so first off, let's start off with these were gifts. This came from my good friend Richie's wife, Michelle. And Michelle said this, she sees me use the finger a lot. This is great for bigger items. This here, wrinkle paint, Dan brought over because he saw I needed some and he was using a project. He gave me a couple tips on how to use it, so I'm looking forward to putting that in some of the things that we work on. And then Bruce gave me one of his canisters for the old I have a couple World War II gas masks, but I was reading somewhere you got to be careful with some of these because some of them, after they sit for a while, they can almost be toxic. So you always have to be careful before you start trying to use one of these, especially unless, you know, if it's toxic fumes, like, you know, somebody puts mustard gas, then I would, you know, chance it. But if you're using this just for like woodworking or something, I wouldn't take the chance with using these canisters because a lot of them, after a while, something happens to them. So this is what I wound up buying. You could see here, I was really good. This one here, it's a little bent, so it don't lock up, but I can fix that on the dake. You know, I've been I always look for items we can use on a dake, but it's otherwise in great shape. It's got the clip here. I like these kind of springs, so that was $1. You know, how can you pass that by? Another $1 item, you know, I can never pass by $1 auto wrench, right? Have to pick up one of these. And this came from Mike. You know, Mike always has that cool dollar table or whatever. These two items I got from my buddy Bruce. And they're really interesting. This one here, I actually want to do today. I love these. We'll talk about that more when we're doing it. And this here I got from Jamie. What a cool hammer this is, huh? You know, nobody could figure out where this came from. Look at it, you know. Look at this. Like, it's interesting, isn't it? And everybody's like, where'd this come? What is it? And I said, you know what this looks like? Do you remember years ago when you used to see, in case of emergency, break glass and it'd be a hammer hanging next to a, you know, firebox or something you had to pick? But they were usually very crude or something. This one here, although, you know, the head is welded on, it's crude yet interesting. So I got that. And this item here. Now, this is a ticket punch. A lot of times they would use these in railroads, things like that. It's well made. You can see here it has a number on there, a number 8, which is probably the pattern it was. But these are long since gone. You don't see these anymore. Guys would carry, you know, ticket conductors would carry these. And let me show you the interesting marking that this makes on here. You see that? It makes like a, can you see that? Like a, I like that design. And what's so interesting about this here is, remember we were talking about the certificate of authenticity, that if you yourself wanted to make something that people, you know, weren't going to copy, you could make a certificate, you know, because anybody could print out a certificate. But if you have a punch like this and you put that on there, that's very hard to duplicate. I mean, what are you going to do with an X-Acto? That's extremely hard to duplicate exactly. So I think something like this would come in handy for that. But interesting little punch. Okay, for today's project, what I'd like to do is I would like to do this Stanley 1460. You can see here, 1460. This was considered a Pry-Bar. And these come in, so anybody that's done any kind of construction, look, there are certain tools that we use that are just super handy, you know, that come in, you grab, you go to whenever you have a job to do, like, you know, some crowbars. But, you know, that crowbar, sometimes they're a little bit bulky and big, and you got the hook. And these pry bars, so many times you can use them. If you wanted to put a block of wood under, you can lift a door when you're positioning a door. And there's just 100 things you could use these for. But when you find one that's a good USA made steel, like this one is, it's a heavy duty bar. And I want to use this, you know, and it's not banged or broken or anything. So let's clean this up. Like I said, I want to use it, and, you know, I love these. Okay, we're coming along here, and now when you're doing this end, you clamp this to the bench, the flat bench, with 2 clamps, and it's easy. But when you want to do the other ends, like here, we have to put this in the 700 because of this is uneven over here. But you see what we got here? You see the difference from before, you know, all that pitting and the dents and everything. And we try and get most of them out. You know, there's always going to be little bits in here. And then in the lettering, we got all the rust out of the lettering. You see, made in the USA, got all that rust out of there. And we'll finish it up now. But we want to keep that, what is it, an octagon profile. But we also want it to be smooth in the hand because we want it to be a good user. Now, to finish up, we used Ben's fiber belts that he sent over. It worked real good. And you know my favorite part. Remember what this Stanley 1460 looked like before we started? And we're calling this project done. You know, if it looks a little bit not quite as polished as I normally do, that's because I covered the entire bar in shellac. And the reason I do that is because these are high carbon steel, and they do tend to rust. If, you know, even if I keep it down here or in my special cabinet upstairs, you know, it's fine. But like I said, I do want to use this, and so I did put a coat of shellac. But you could see it's clear, you know, and it wears well. You can always take it off if you want with some denatured alcohol. You see we put a little red in the lettering to keep it from rusting again. Did the back up here. Back is nice, right? But again, it's coated with shellac. It has a nice feel. Look at that nice octagon, right? Or it's just I think I'm the only guy restoring pry bars and crowbars on YouTube. You know, everybody takes these for granted, but you all know probably one of the most useful tools that you can ever have. And this 1460, I'm sure, will come in handy because I just love that format, that size. Special thanks to Bruce for selling me that pry bar. It is a beauty. Another special thanks goes out to my buddy Richie Kemp. He grew a garden this year, and you know, he's got a green thumb for sure because he gave me some cherry tomatoes and regular tomatoes, and boy, these things were like candy sweet, really delicious. So thanks very much for that, Rich, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in. Take care now. Bye-bye.